Today I want to talk about 5 mistakes that people make as they're approaching retirement. They're making the plan to pull the trigger, that time is coming soon, and in planning for their retirement, there are 5 mistakes that could make a difference in how their retirement goes. And I don't want you to make any of these mistakes. First off is underestimating longevity. A lot of times people will tell me that their dad or their mom or their granddad or their grandma lived to just this age, and so they don't really think that they're going to live as long as the averages. And yet, they're failing to consider the fact that we're healthier these days, we're living longer these days, we have medical advances ahead of us. And what you want to know when you are planning how long your retirement portfolio is going to last, you want to know that no matter what age you live to, you don't outlive that retirement portfolio. Number 2 is not taking Social Security at the most optimal age. You can take Social Security anytime from 62 to 70, but what is the best time to take Social Security for you and for your spouse? If you wait, you're going to have a higher Social Security benefit. If you start sooner, then it allows your spouse to also start taking Social Security on your record if they don't have a bigger amount on their own record. And whatever age you start taking Social Security, at that point in time, it's going to bring income into your household, and it is going to reduce the amount that you have to take from your retirement accounts. And so you've got to think through that with your own situation. What is your crossover point going to be, and when is the best time for you and your spouse together to take Social Security? And the only way to make that decision is to run a plan, to know how it impacts your entire situation. Number 3 is failing to adjust your portfolio for retirement. When you're working, you're just adding money to that portfolio. You can invest more aggressively because you've got a paycheck coming in. You're not going to start using that money until many years down the road. But as you're approaching retirement and you enter retirement, it's the exact opposite of that. You're going to start drawing down from that portfolio, and volatility is going to impact you. Sequence of return risk is a big risk, especially in the early years of retirement. It can really devastate a portfolio as far as being able to provide the income that you need from that portfolio over your entire retirement years. So you've got to adjust your portfolio to ensure that you've got the money that is more stable for those early years, and then still have the growth that you need for the later years so that you keep up with inflation. Failing to create an efficient distribution strategy. Which account you pull money out of first, second, or third, what tax you're paying on those accounts is important. And a lot of people approach this the same way that they approached spending money while they were working. You put money into different types of accounts, and if you need to spend money when you're working, you're going to pull that out of savings first, and then you would go to your taxable account, and you would leave those tax-deferred retirement savings accounts for last, as a last resort, because that's where you're putting your retirement money, and you would have a penalty if you took it out while you're under 59 and a half. But when you reach full retirement age, it's the exact opposite. You're going to no longer have a penalty on taking money out of that account. And if you take money in the exact same way you would have when you were working, and you leave that tax-deferred retirement account to last, it's going to continue to grow the most. And when you hit required minimum distribution age, you're going to have these much higher required minimum distributions that you have to take out. Could push you into a higher tax bracket at that point in time. It could push you into a higher IRMA bracket. It could increase a lot of the costs over your lifetime, as well as then what your heirs would pay on what they inherit. So when you reach retirement, you want to think about it completely different. You want to think about what tax bracket are you in this year, and how much can you use from those tax deferred accounts to fill up those lower tax brackets so that you begin to pull the money out at the best tax cost on those dollars. That's going to improve the results of your retirement plan over your retirement. And then number 5 is failing to consider healthcare costs. When you're working, a lot of times that healthcare cost is being handled through your paycheck and through your employer, and you don't really see that. It is a line item on a W-2, but you don't really see that cost. And a lot of people forget to add in the cost of healthcare to their budget as they're entering retirement. It's something that when I ask people, does this number that we're talking about include what it's going to cost you to cover Medicare, supplements, and Part B and Part D and all of the different things? And they say, no, I hadn't thought about that yet. So you've got to think about what is the cost of healthcare going to be for you and your spouse, and then build that in. The average couple is going to pay $315,000 in healthcare costs over their retirement years. So you want to know that you've got that built in. And that $315,000 does not include the cost of long-term care if either you or your spouse or both of you would need some level of long-term care in your lifetime. And it's estimated that most of us will need at least some level in the later years, not necessarily full-blown nursing home or assisted living, but some extra costs as we age. So you want to build that into your plan too. You want to know that whatever amount of money that you're retiring with, it's going to cover all of the costs you have for as long as you live, so that you are on your best path in your retirement.